2022, finally tennis on TV again. It's been a weird month, no tennis on TV really. Of course, on the men's side, we have the ATP Cup going on, and on the women's side, which I think is super exciting, there are 3 tournaments going on right off the bat. So there's 1 in Adelaide and 2 simultaneously taking place in Melbourne, and there are some really juicy matchups in the early rounds. And since Australia is way ahead of us in time, the tournaments start tonight. My name is Meike Babel, former top 30 WTA pro, 19 times Grand Slam competitor. If you like my content, please do subscribe. Recommend my channel to your friends. Click that little bell because that is the best way to know when I'm putting out new content, and I would love for you to support my channel. And what I want to do is I want to point out the matchups that I will have an eye on tonight. So the first one that I think is really interesting, Maria Sakkari is playing in Adelaide. She's actually first up. This should be starting about now. She's had a phenomenal 2021. So let's keep an eye on her and see if she can keep that up. So she's definitely a player that I'm looking forward to just see how she can manage really defending all these matches and points that she won last year, because it's always a little easier to come up in the rankings. It's harder to defend it the second year around. Then another player that I think we should take a look at is Sofia Kenin. She hasn't played in, I don't know, what's felt like forever. So I'm looking forward to see what kind of form she is, because we just really haven't seen her a lot. And then the next one is the kicker. In the first round in Adelaide, Paula Badosa against Victoria Azarenka. And that is the rematch of what I really thought was one of the top 3 best matches last year, the final of Indian Wells between those two. That was just stunning tennis to me. So I'm really potentially staying up for that, to be quite honest. Now, another one that I really am looking forward to is a potential second round in Adelaide. Barty hasn't played since she lost at the US Open, and she has a bye in the first round and could potentially face Coco Gauff in the second round, who's playing a qualifier. So I think that's a really interesting matchup, because early in the year is always a good time to get the big ones out, because, well, especially after a while that somebody hasn't played, they don't exactly know where they stand. So that's definitely a matchup, if that is about to happen, that I want to point out. And then, of course, a not so easy first round draw. Leylah Fernandez is playing Ekaterina Alexandrova. So Alexandrova is always a little bit of a sleeper to me. I mean, she's got her ups and downs, and when she's up, ooh, that's a juicy first round. So definitely check that one out. Now, one of the Melbourne tournaments, actually, to my mind, is a little bit more interesting because it has 2 players that are also somewhat trying to make a comeback. Now, the first one is Naomi Osaka, and she has not played since the US Open of last year, and I think she has a little bit of a tough first round. She's playing Alizé Cornet from France, who is a, shall we say, a veteran of the tour, been there forever, and is a very, very experienced player who's probably not going to be really intimidated of having to play Naomi Osaka when there is as much scrutiny on that comeback. And she's always a very, very tricky player to play. So that is one that I want to watch. And then there's Simona Halep, who's had a pretty good end of the year, not for her standards, let's put it this way, but for somebody coming back from a pretty long injury. So I want to check out what her form is. She's going to play a qualifier, so that should be an easy first round. But those are the top tips for the first couple of rounds to watch in Adelaide and Melbourne.